So continuing with Ramjoo's diary, and we have
Should I
Mayor
start?
Duvarla. Yes, please.
The third foot journey, Bombay to Sakori, October 1923. Journey starts. The early hours of this morning witness an unusual hustle and uh, bustle in the Irani mansion. It was about 3 o'clock that we were all were out of bed, and after attending to the necessaries of completing the final preparations, Baba and ourselves bid goodbye to the mansion and started on foot for Sakuri. This is the third important journey on foot of Baba's accompanied by the Mandali. The first and second being the walk from Pune to Bombay, and the never to be forgotten, the tramping in Gujarat. This time, the following members from the party, besides Baba, are 1. Gastaji, 2. Beramji, 3. Adi, 4. Doctor, 5. Rustam, 6. Babu Rao, 7. Slamson, 8. Nervous, and 9. Myself, and 10. Aga Baidul, and 11. Sasdeshwi, who expected to join us at Thana. While Messrs. Uh, Messrs. Vajida, Sarosh, and Barjorji are accompanying us with, uh, sorry, Barjorji accompanying us up to Ghatkopar, and Raghunath up to an uncertain distance. All of our kit and luggage being carried in the bullock cart enabled to us to walk very easily in comparison with the self-carrying tramp in Gujarat. As we covered the distance of 7 miles at a very easy pace, we reached Ghatkopar after 2 or 3 hours in the best of the spirits, in the absence of any fixed idea of where to put up for the rest of the day. We had to undergo considerable inconvenience in drifting from the place to another in search of a suitable shelter when Mr. K.K. Irani suddenly appeared on the scene with the offer of placing his house at our entire disposal. This was accepted by Baba only after Mr. K.K. repeated the same with eager entreaties for several times at the first refusal of Baba to go to his house, and soon we made ourselves comfortable for the rest of the day at Mr. Keki's place, where we met with the best of hospitality by our young obliging host and his considerate old mother in the afternoon. Baba allowed Mr. Keki to take his photos thrice, as well as sat for a picture with all of us. Even in this journey, Baba is continuing the system of taking a little dal rice and 1 cup of tea once in 24 hours, which has adopted of late. Thana. Again this morning, saw up all very early and busy with the preparations to start for Thana. We left Ghatkopar at 4 a.m. with the necessary lights as it was quite dark. Then, after a brisk walk for a couple of hours, the dawn the couple of hours, for quite dark. Then after a brisk walk for a couple of hours, the dawn smiled on us near Molone village, gradually presenting the surrounding scenery in gold and green. We arrived at Thana, which is about 10 miles from Ghatkopar, and put up in a local traveler's bungalow, which is situated a very convenient and beautiful locality. Our stay here for the day proved to be a very pleasant time. Good food arrangement was made by the travelers, bar or opposite the bungalow, while the evening was well spent in flying kites, etc., in which Baba too participated wholeheartedly as pre-arranged. Sadeshvi came to Thana from Pune by the evening express and joined us. About an hour or so was devoted to the discussion of the abandoning the present tramp of account of Baba's weak health, but however, for the present, the program remains unchanged. Barjoji, who had again come to see Baba this afternoon, returned back to Bombay in the evening. Today, crossing the creek. Today, we started about 5 in the morning from Thana for Bhiwandi. After walking for about 4 miles, we had to cross the creek near Kolshet village in a boat. In spite of the fine morning, the boat business was more a nuisance than affording any rest, as the boats available there are of poor type and scanty accommodation for seats. The cart was left behind with Aga, Baidul, and Raghunath to be brought on the big boat. Ramjoo's diary are Arangao and Toos, which sails only at high tide. After crossing to the other side of the shore, we continued to walk toward Bhiwandi, a distance of something like 6 miles from the place by Old Agra Road, which, though having a very poor surface, provides an excellent shade on account of the big trees on both sides of the road, forming a complete avenue. It was arranged to stay at Mr. Nazir Ahmed's place, but we missed them awaiting us at further junction because we cut across by the first side of the road to Bhiwandi from the main road. So we were put too much inconvenience and annoyance in finding out the residence of our would-be host being a party. Of persons of mixed faiths and sex and different kinds of dresses, some shabbily clad, a few ordinary dress, one barefooted, the other in khaki, and so on, headed by Baba, a distinguished personality with curly golden hair, but having the hem of his trousers into strips, we really presented a very strange sight. Thus, we provided people a good sample of curiosity and guesswork, as hundreds of inquiring eyes were turned on us. When we reached the bazaar proper, here we hired carriages and came to the government inspection bungalow. After a few minutes journey from the bazaar, previous permission from the authorities concerned is difficulty. We manage to get in and remind you till the evening. Soon after Mr. Nazir Ahmed, people found us out and tried much to take Baba and party to the house. But Baba preferred to stay here, though he allowed them to arrange for our food, which was done for both the times satisfactorily. Hardly we had.
Thank you, Mayor. Very
Okay,
nice.
good.
Thank you.
I must tell you, these are in Bombay, the different suburbs which I was reading about, Thana and everything, in different suburbs.
Cool. Betty, could you unmute and continue, please?
Hardly we had settled in the bungalow when amongst the turmoil, Baba created a great row by asking to be provided his usual dal rice there and then, causing a great hustle bustle and providing a fresh example of that distinct peculiarity which is manifested every now and then in Baba's words and actions. Ooh, I gotta sneeze. Excuse me.
God bless you.
Thank you. Which is manifested every now and then in Baba's words and actions, which are otherwise quite normal in every aspect of a general man of the world. Mr. Nasir Ahmed, who had just returned from Bombay, came to see Baba in the evening, just in the nick of time, when preparations were on foot for leaving the place. He much regretted his going to Bombay a day previous to our arrival, especially when, according to his own words, he had been foretold of Baba's coming to Bhiwandi through two sources. The first, through a recent dream of a friend of Mr. Nasir Ahmed. A train is coming from Bombay to Bhiwandi, but instead of rolling on the rails, it is walking. The train is composed of about 7 or 8 carriages headed by a light engine, all of yellow color with yellow flowers. The second being the words of a local saint, whom Mr. Nasir Ahmed visits every now and then, to the effect that he, Mr. Ahmed, should not leave Bhiwandi as an angel is to visit his place. And when Mr. Nasir Ahmed insisted upon going to Bombay, he was advised to return back the same evening. Of course, for the man of the world, there is nothing definite about these foretellings. But for the people of Mr. Nasir Ahmed's type, who have devoted a part of their life after spiritual research, these suggestive hints carry volumes of meaning. Raghunath was sent to Sakori this afternoon, he being unable to keep pace with the rest of the Mandali, as well as overlooking Baba's instructions. The food not being ready, myself in company of Aga Baidul and the cart were left behind to bring the same when ready, while Baba and the rest left Bhiwandi at 5 p.m. for Bad Padga, a village 10 miles off. After an hour or so, we too started with the food. This portion of our journey proved most fascinating and fatiguing to the extreme limit. The former because it was very nearly sunset when we left Bhiwandi, and a few miles walk alongside the cart brought me amongst the green-clad hills and dales, with the silvery disk of the moon in a setting of pale blue sky on the one side of the horizon, while the opposite side presented a fine study of the setting sun with all the glory of red and gold lavishly spread thereon. Wow, what description. Last but not the least was the soft and gentle breeze that added to the charm of the charming atmosphere. The latter because having already walked 10 miles in the morning and in the absence of substantial rest in the afternoon, This scamper of 10 miles more this very evening proved a thorough joint stiffener, so much so that the last mile was traversed by me with stiff joints, causing acute pain at every step. Here again at Padga, we put up in the local inspection bungalow or rest house for the night. October 22nd, 1923, Padga. We got up late today as well as had full rest before starting again for the journey. Padga is a good quiet town boasting of a post office and school combined and a small bazaar having a dozen or two shops of necessary commodities of daily life, while the chief industry looks to be that of cartwheels manufacturing. Here we did not experience any difficulty in having shelter in the rest house, a similar building like the one at Biwandi, but with more picturesque surroundings. After taking our meals, both in the morning and in the afternoon, we started from Padga for Shahapur, a distance of nearly 11 miles, at 4 p.m. The sun was at this time right at our back, its rays warmly kissing our necks. Consequently, a few miles' walk produced a keen thirst, while the poor surface of the road was very trying for the barefooted. Hence, a very slow pace was adopted. Excepting for the pleasant walk of about a mile or two, where the road is cut through the heart of a hill, among rich foliage and refreshing shade like that of a garden avenue, this journey on the whole proved very tiring. Even the bullock was every now and then halting too on account of a sharp incline of about a mile, indicating the close proximity of the Tal Ghat. By the time we reached Asangaon, we were on the whole done up with the first and fatigue, so much so that every furlong seemed a mile. Hence it was, after all, decided to stop here instead of proceeding to Shahapur at this late hour of 8 p.m. Thus we made ourselves at home on the Asangaon railway station platform, leaving the bullock and the cart in the station compound, after walking only a bare distance of 8 miles today. On account of the continuous din of the incoming and outgoing trains and the constant hustle bustle, we passed the night very uncomfortably, almost all of us getting a very scanty and continually interrupted sleep. October 23rd, 1923, Shahapur. Early this morning, we started from Asangaon, and within half an hour, we reached the rest house at Shahapur. Here we halted for the morning. A very dull time it was because of the Mandali's tired condition. For this reason, those who were unable to walk briskly formed one party under Gustaji and left Kardi, a distance of nearly 10 miles from Shahapur, at 2:30 p.m. While the other party, accompanied by Baba, started after more than an hour at about 3:35, a very brisk pace was kept up by the latter throughout the journey to the average speed of 4 miles an hour. Consequently, in spite of the former party having got a start of an hour, Baba's party passed ahead of Gustaji's company at the 9th mile, like a mail train rushing along by a goods train, and reached near Kardi at 6:40 p.m. This part of the road passes through many hills and dales. Hence, the whole journey was one of regular ascents and descents. At Kardi, we again utilized the railway station platform for passing the night, as it was not convenient enough to occupy the rest house situated near Kardi village. After taking supper of the remaining food that was with us and getting loaves from the local bazaar for breakfast tomorrow, we went to sleep.
Thanks, Betty. Rolf, are you reading this morning?
He's not here. Oh, he is. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Ernie, could you unmute and continue that?
The tall got. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Perfectly.
Okay. Having, as usual, got up early and after taking light tea, we left Charty at 4 this morning for Kasara. In spite of the same sort of traffic on this station as it was last night at Asangyan, we managed to get good sleep, probably on account of the commodious platform here. Though Talgot assumes a more decided regularity and ascent at Kasara, yet after a few minutes' walk after leaving Charty, we began ascending the hills, with a few sharp descents here and there. Today, the consequences of the journey began to tell upon the majority of the party, most of us having blisters, sore feet, stiffs, and cramps, respectively. In addition, as fuel to the fire, there was the trouble of pushing the cart when the bullock refused to manage some steep incline single-handed. As a result, it was a miserable state for many of the Mandali when we reached the village of Kasara, which is about 1,028 feet above sea level, and where we got a suitable shelter in the rest house maintained by the local board. As already noted, the morning was very dull on account of the Mandali being in a very tired condition. Most of us lying here and there in the traveler shelter, when suddenly the atmosphere began to buzz with excitement. Just at the moment, Gustaji, who can fairly be said to be in the worst condition externally on account of his illness, was about to step in, quite done up with fatigue. He being the last comer, Baba asked Adi to inquire of Gustaji whether he was going to prepare Baba's food, and if so, when, as it was getting late, etc. Upon this, Gustaji asked Adi not to meddle in this affair, and he was justified in retorting to the dried and cut inquiries, for the making of which there was no reason visible. But upon this slight point, Baba, who has more than once proved himself supernaturally able to control his temper, began to work up an apparently ugly temper by passing remarks, now abusing, then pleading, here getting angry at the Mandali in general, and Gustaji in particular, and again changing his mood, and almost crying on his own condition, and so on. It lasts to such a point that Gustaji, the most important and experienced one of the circle, was touched so hard that he went away from the traveler shelter to the station with the intention of leaving Baba and the Mandali for good. Upon this, of course, Baba changed his own mood as suddenly as he had started the storm and sent Ramjoo after Gustaji to bring the latter back. It did not take long for Baba to pacify Gustaji and restore the normal atmosphere, as it was done even in less time than it took for him to start it. Such occasional creations of events by Baba, especially when the Mandali are quite at their worst, may perhaps be to test as well as teach forbearance to the Mandali, or God knows what else it is. As it is difficult to interpret his words and actions both. But this much is quite evident, that when teasing and troubling the Mandali, Baba himself is in no way suffering less, but on the contrary, 100 times more. considering a bare handful or two of dal rice and not even a full cup of tea, which he takes once in 24 hours. Baba allowed us to sleep for about an hour before meals, which made us feel a bit refreshed. After taking our food in the afternoon, we went to a small streamlet just a mile off from the traveler shelter, where we had a general wash up of the clothes, as well as a much needed bath, which brought us round to our old self. However, the blisters, etc., remained on the feet to make walking a long distance very difficult, to which Baba made us apply oil and then warm them beside the fire. Thus, on the whole, we passed a quite restful evening. At 5 in the evening, Rustum went to Agat Puri by train and returned after a couple of hours, after making arrangements for the Mandali and Baba's meals tomorrow there, to save us a repetition of the scene enacted this morning. October 25th, 1923. Weird. It was as early as 2:30 a.m. that we got up and began putting things in order. We had very scanty sleep, particularly those who had to keep watch every hour, turn by turn. Nearly at 3:30 a.m., we started from Kasara for Agatpuri at a steady but slow pace, because the whole distance was one of steep incline, as Agatpuri is about 1,000 feet higher than Kasara. The treatment of the blisters and sore feet with oil and warming beside the fire proved very efficacious, as we could easily walk today. The first part of the journey through the road in the mountain pass proper, surrounded by hills thick with trees, bore a very weird atmosphere in the pale moonlight. The bullock, in spite of our pushing the cart now and then, found the continuous incline too hard to move at a steady pace. Hence, for about a couple of miles, we carried our respective beddings, etc., ourselves. At the 7th mile, the road encircles a huge horseshoe-like hill with a big valley, thick and rich with different kinds of trees and foliage in the middle. Thus, a picturesque scene presented to our eyes while walking around this portion of the road, affording different views of the valley, with the giant railway bridge crossing across it from end to end. Another striking picture of nature came to our view near Agatpuri of two huge but plain barren hills, both of almost equal size and shape, slanting in opposite directions with clockwork regularity, forming a quaint, narrow valley in the exact middle with a small streamlet passing through it. In spite of the engaging surroundings, the walk to Agatpuri proved very tiresome, especially when we came to know through the milestones that Agatpuri was 13 miles from Kasara instead of our fond hopes, based on misinformation, that we had to walk only 10 miles today. The prospect of a wholesome breakfast waiting for us at Agatpuri made us keep up a brisk pace as soon as the pass proper came to an end. It was at about 8:45 that we came to the hotel at Agatpuri, where Rustum had previously arranged for Baba's and the Mandali's food. But it was a thunderbolt from the blue to hear the hotel keeper placidly declare that as he was not sure of our coming, he had not kept the dal rice ready. It was specially to provide Baba with the meal as soon as we reached Agatpuri that Rustam had expressly come here yesterday. As for the Mandali's breakfast, there was not any need for previous arrangement. In spite of this, instead of being angry as could be expected, Baba got us to bring fresh sweets and asked the Mandali to take the same with tea, providing an excellent breakfast. But the upsetting of the plan, resulting in disappointment, completely cooled our enthusiasm, and proper justice could not be done to the breakfast. After taking tea, we went to the local rest house and made ourselves at home there. The bungalow, being perched on a hill, commands the most beautiful scenery at Agatpuri. We had the long needed shave here, while save for the delay, good food arrangement was made by that Irani hotel keeper. In addition to all this, we were allowed to sleep for an hour in the afternoon, a rare luxury nowadays.
Thank you. Thank you, Ernie, pardon me. Um, uh, David Mayer Kiran, are you reading this morning? Guess not. How about you, Mahu? Are you ready? Oh, Mahu's video is frozen. Oh, okay, I'll continue then. But trouble arose through an unforeseen source. When we woke up after an hour or so at 4 p.m. and were asked by Papa to get ready for going out for sightseeing the lake situated nearby. We were soon ready according to the order, yet hesitance to go out so early in the sun was clearly apparent on the faces of many, upon which Baba inquired of us as to who felt pleasure in coming with him to the lake. Well, none came forward. So then he proposed that we should play cards. This too proved futile in arousing any interest therein. Thereupon, Baba seemed to be much annoyed, and after some time declared that nobody should talk with him, and in the same way, he will also observe silence with us. After all, on such a frail ground and lame excuse, Baba really acted upon his threat and did not speak with anyone except Baramji, creating a very uncomfortable atmosphere the rest of the evening. The moonlight presented the lake opposite to the bungalow like a huge mirror set among the hills in the night. October 26, 1923. Subtitle Rest. Having gone to bed early last night, yet we got up at about 6 in the morning. And this was the first time since we started from Bombay that we had full sound sleep. Baba kept his vow of silence, and any instructions necessary were communicated through Baramji, who for the present has become the mouthpiece for the Mandali and Baba both to exchange words. And this the worthy seemed to be enjoying to the full. Late in the morning, a shoe repairer was called at the bungalow, and almost all the members got their footgear attended to for further journey. After myself and Doctor returned from the mosque where we had been for the usual Friday prayers, we started from Igatpuri at 4 in the morning and reached Goti, a distance of 5 miles. and waited at the outskirts of the village for Baba, who was coming separately with the favorite of the day, Baramji. Meanwhile, Doctor and Sadashiv went to the village to search for a traveler's shelter, and they found one, but already occupied by some police officers. Hence, when Baba arrived here, it was decided to pass the night once again at the railway station. So we left the main road and came to the Goti station, and as usual, made ourselves comfortable on the platform. After having our meals, the much talked and discussed question of whether to go to Bandardara, Bandardara Lake, situated at a distance of about 5 miles from Bari, a village about 14 miles from Goti, en route to Sakori, or proceed direct to our destination, again came before all for final settlement. Most of us were found very eager to sightsee the great lake works, but unless Baba ended, according to Rustam, the play, we all refused to go there. Thereupon Baba spoke, addressing Baramji, that the real reason of his silence was that the Mandali did not like him to talk in his own way. So, not wishing to hurt our feelings, he had observed silence. But we said, if it was so, this was the first reason that a stop be put to this awkward situation, as the silence hurt our feelings more than Baba's constant grumblings. Upon this, Baba said, if that is the case, he will be his old self again. And so, as unexpectedly as the trouble had started, it ended also. And with it, the question of going to Bandardara was also settled. Mr. Aziz Ahmed, a devotee of Baba, who is an assistant engineer at the works, was wired to by me under orders that Baba and party will be arriving Bari tomorrow morning. So conveyance arrangement be made to take the party from Bari to Bandardara. Bandardara. Soon after all, we went to sleep, excepting myself, as it was my turn to keep watch in the first hour tonight. After half an hour, Mr. Aziz Ahmed acknowledged receipt of our message and said he was delighted. I conveyed this to Baba, who was lying awake. 10 minutes more, and another message from Mr. Aziz Ahmed was received by Mr. Kothari, an officer of the Bandardara works residing just near the station, to see the party well provided with food and place, which Mr. Kothari forwarded to us with the inquiry whether we wanted anything. But as we had already had our meals and under the circumstances found the station platform more safe and suitable, Baba asked me to inform Mr. Kothari in reply through his servant that we did not require anything with thanks. Again, after a quarter of an hour, a message from Mr. Aziz Ahmed came to us direct that if Baba wished, conveyance arrangement can be made to take the Mandali from Goti station, etc. The downpour of messages no doubt showed the enthusiasm and eagerness of Mr. Aziz Ahmed to see Baba at his place, but it also disturbed us as we have to get up very early tomorrow. Hence, when I wrote out a lengthy reply according to Baba's instructions, Baba further asked me to add in the end, quote, exhausted, preparing for sleep, end quote. This settled the matter, and the private telegraph office that had kept buzzing till this late hour became silent, to our relief and satisfaction. Mahu, can you unmute and continue, please?
Yes, this is page 252, date 27 October 1923, and the title is Hills Again. It was with a great effort that we could shake the sleep off ourselves at such an early hour as 2:30 a.m. when we were up and preparing for the journey. For the first time since starting from Dadar, today we left to Agra Road and took the side road to Sakori. Nearly at 3 a.m., we started for Wari, a small village 14 miles from Ghoti, having an inspection bungalow nearby. This part of our journey passes mostly through hills, so much so that we had to cross 3 hills in a distance of 11 miles, while the rest of 3 miles to Bari was through a pass proper. Baba and party stopped for a rest at the beginning of the pass, while Baba asked me to proceed on in advance to settle our program with Mr. Aziz Ahmed. Having walked at a stretch this long distance of nearly 14 miles, it was with a sigh of relief that Bari came to view. But according to a villager of whom I inquired, I came to know with a bit of disappointment that the junction of the road to Bahandardara with the main road was near the inspection bungalow, about a mile from the village. The path leading to the bungalow, from the main road, not having a board to indicate its existence, amidst the thick shrubbery and trees, caused me the further trouble of walking additional distance besides the mile in searching the same, but at last I found it, and to my utter amazement, I did not find either Mr. Aziz Ahmed or his car there. The watchman told me that the Bahandardara road branched off not here, but a mile off. Much tired and fagged out as I had been, the prospect of walking another mile was not a very comfortable one. But the expectation of finding the car there, as it was likely that Mr. Aziz Ahmed might have misunderstood our message and might be waiting for us at the junction, made me drag myself on. It was another mile of painful walking that at last brought me at the junction of the 2 roads at a total distance of 16 miles from Ghoti. My disappointment knew no bounds when, with horror, I found nobody there. I simply found myself at a loss to understand the situation. Considering the enthusiasm shown by Mr. Aziz Ahmed last night through telegrams, I could not think him to have forgotten about us. Yeah, you can roll up more. Okay. While there was no mistaking of roads on account of the clear indicators, I was about to sit down with fatigue when I remembered the party following me. So with a last effort, I again started back to convey the queer state of affairs. Now, page 253. I had hardly trudged on for a few minutes when a ray of hope suddenly flashed on the road in the shape of a carriage coming from the Bahandara side. Within a few more minutes, a car came to wheel, rushing along a bend towards me, completely changing my disappointment into great relief. In a few moments, Mr. Aziz Ahmed was beside me. I hurriedly explained him the purpose of my solitary presence, upon which he again started the car and we were off towards Bari at full speed. Mr. Aziz Ahmed never expected us so early, hence he was late. Despite taking the 2 miles to Bari at breakneck speed, we found Baba and party already there and in search of ourselves and the bungalow. Our zealous host brought everything necessary for breakfast in the car. Baba decided to go to the rest house before starting for Bahandareda. Baba had his tea in the bungalow. After that, we were served with breakfast, and thus, after getting considerably refreshed, Baba with 6 others started by car and the rest by carriage towards the lake works. Aga Beidul, who has all along been driving our bullock cart, got the promotion of taking the reins of the carriage in hand, while our bullock cart was left in charge of Mr. Aziz Ahmed's driver to be brought along following us. After half an hour of exciting racing along the sharp ascents and descents of the hilly road, the old but sturdy car brought us to Mr. Aziz Ahmed's place, situated within a stone's throw from the actual works. Our host rather made a mistake in selecting the big tin shed of a building near his own house, without even a single separate room for our stay. Further, it was situated in such a position that people would almost come in unannounced to see Baba. Thus, Baba could not make himself comfortable in the absence of a separate room. The Mandali also could not rest, as we had also to keep up in a conversational position. Consequently, in spite of Mr. Aziz Ahmed's best efforts and great hospitality, we found Bahandaratra exertion on the whole very tiring.
Thank you, Mahu. Elizabeth, could you unmute and continue, please?
Meals were served to the Mandali at 1:30 in the afternoon. And after that, we went for sightseeing the works. The dam is under construction since the last 15 years and is very near to completion. The giant masonry wall has already reached the towering height of 263 feet. Now only the final finishing portion of 7 feet of more work remains to complete the work to gain for the dam the claim of being one of the only 2 such works of its kind in the world. The other lake with such a high wall is somewhere in America. The foundation of the Bandardara Dam is 233 feet in breadth at the foundation, while at the top, the wall will remain only 20 feet wide on account of the sharp tapering when completed. Thus, a huge valley of about an average breadth of 200 feet and 12 miles long has been turned into a lake for irrigation purposes in the surrounding country. The short cruise in the steam launch on the lake was very refreshing and pleasant, particularly since we have been tramping for the last 9 days. The towering hills on both sides of the blue ribbon-like strip of crystal water shimmering under the afternoon sun presented a rare scene of beauty while sailing in the tiny launch. As soon as we finished with the sightseeing, we hurriedly left Bandardara because Baba had not yet taken his meal, which he said he would take in the rest house at Bari, where Baba had decided to pass the rest of the day and night, apparently due to the inconvenience of the place and the frequent intrusion of outsiders to see him here. We returned to the bungalow and made ourselves comfortable there by 4 o'clock in the evening. This bungalow is also well surrounded by hills, most notable amongst them being the one facing the front of the bungalow called Kalsubai Peak, and which is said to be the highest point in the Deccan, being 5,500 feet above sea level. In the evening, Baba asked me to apply tincture iodine on the eczema on my groin, which I did. And I shall never, and never shall I forget the terrible ordeal that I passed through afterwards. So much so I was almost out of my senses with the horrible burning and cutting sensation, tossing here and there like a fish out of water until I drifted away in the dreamland after about a couple of hours. October 28th, 1923, starting from Bari. As usual, we were up early and having gone to bed the previous evening without supper, our empty stomachs paid good attention to the dal rice, which Mr. Aziz Ahmed had brought with him last night, when he had come after all of us had gone to sleep to bid Baba and the Mandali a final goodbye. Only Doctor, who was awake at the time, received the food as well as the salams on behalf of all. Today we packed our things in Mr. Aziz Ahmad's carriage, placed at our disposal. Our bullock, being very tired, was left in care of our transport officer, Aga Baidul, at Bandardara yesterday to bring it with the empty cart today, direct from Bandardara to Ramjoo, as the distance is almost the same. That is, Ramjoo is 14 miles from both Bandardara as well as Bari. 3rd foot journey, Bombay to Sakori. After being ready, we left Bari for Ramjoo. Today was the first time we took the shortcuts, now and then leaving the main road, especially amongst the hills. In the beginning, we found to be gaining steadily. Hence, the idea of going along by footpaths wherever possible began to appeal to all very strongly. But as everything in excess is bad, So this system proved too. We misjudged the last shortcut and found ourselves very far from the main road in the hills proper, going along sharp ascents and descents, now passing over the brink of a yawning precipice, then diving in a valley, again scaling a steep hill, and so on. We at last reached Rajur, but we landed clean in the village proper. Hence, we had to back a few furlongs to reach the rest house, situated as usual at the outskirts of the village. On the whole, the tramp today proved both interesting and pleasant. As arranged, Aga Baidul had arrived at the bungalow, followed by the carriage an hour before we reached the same. We all had ample rest this afternoon and were allowed to sleep for a couple of hours too. The carriage was also returned to Mr. Aziz Ahmed after all had meals. In view of our tramp approaching the destination very soon, a discussion took place early this evening for fixing up the details of our visit to Socorro. It is decided to reach Socorro on the next Thursday in the morning, and after staying there for the day, to return by the evening and join Baba, who will be waiting for us at a convenient spot in the near vicinity, as Baba is not coming in person with us. Rustam and Sadashiv have, however, been given the choice of returning whenever they like, due to the hesitation and slight resentment displayed by both of them when Baba asked us to return the very day from Socorro after only taking the blessing of Sri Maharaj there. October 29th, 1923, Akola, or Akola. We started from Rajur about 4 a.m. at a brisk pace, followed by Gustaji, who was lagging behind on account of a severe pain in the knee, while Aga Badul, as usual, brought up the rear with the luggage in the cart. The descending by the hills, which we had climbed near Bari for about 5 miles, considerably helped us in reaching Akola at a distance of 13 miles from Rajur in so short time as 3 hours. So it was at about 7 a.m. that we came to Akola, and as usual, put up at the local PWD bungalow. Special sweets were made to be prepared in clarified butter in the local bazaar, containing a few shops scattered here and there in the village. Thus, the sweets and tumblerful of rich coffee prepared by Baba in milk made us a wholesome breakfast, while the afternoon meal was prepared by a village cook engaged by us for the day, assisted by our Shadashi. After having meals, all went to sleep at 3 p.m. except myself, having got to write the diary notes as well as not feeling very sleepy. So I kept the watch and slept for a couple of hours after all were up. At 5 in the evening, we took millet bread and spicy gram at supper and took to bed soon after. October 30th, 1923, Sangamner, Sangamner. Having had sufficient sleep and rest, it was an easy task for us to get ourselves on the move today from Akola for Sangamner, so early as at 3:30 in the morning. At the 5th mile, we stopped by the river near the village Kalas, and having got milk with us, we prepared tea. Baba and the rest of us took the same, while Sadashiv and Babu Rao had milk. Thus refreshed, we reached Sangamner, a distance of 14 miles through a sort of tableland, as the road from Akola to this town is along even ground, in contrast to the hills that we crossed every now and then since leaving Shahapur in the best of spirits. Sangamner, one of the 2 important towns of the district of Ahmednagar, being the largest town that we came across since leaving Thana, we experienced considerable difficulty in finding out the local district bungalow in this thickly populated town, as it is situated quite at the other side of the town on the Puna Road by the river. Some of us, having missed the road over the bridge, had to cross the river, which is at the most waist high. Good food arrangement had been made through a local Hindu restaurant with the help of a local sub-inspector of police, an acquaintance of our Rustam. After a few hours' rest and having had our meal, we again started from Sangamner for Nimgaon Jalika, a village at the distance of 12 miles. At 4 in the evening, it was quite dark when we reached the bungalow of Nimgaon Jalika at 9 p.m. after a very laborious walk. Thus we walked in all a record distance of 26 miles for the first time since leaving Bombay. The ready food brought with us from Sangamner made a much needed meal, while Shadashiv and Baburao became the paid guests of the watchman, after which we retired soon to bed, being too much tired.
Thank you, Elizabeth. We'll pick up here next time. So the next page is, oh good, oh no, it's just a subheading. But the next page, 257.
The next page, we are at Halloween.